Beautiful technique, man. Beautiful technique. So what do you normally do? Like, what's your process? Do you just go 1 plate, 2 plate? What are the jumps?
So usually, because my adductors get super tight from sitting down and work hip flexors, all that, I usually do some banded stuff.
Yeah, can you show me? Because I sit down a lot as well. And whenever I start warming up, it's just a slow process. I spend half an hour on things like leg presses with unloaded. But
I do a bunch of stuff. So I'll usually have this band anchored. Same height usually as where you have it anchored below my knee. And then I go into my sumo stance. And then I just do some squatting pattern. So I'll just squat and I'll allow the band to take my knees out.
Show me.
And just, I'll do this and you can see my legs like shaking. Right, you can see them shaking.
What muscles are you using to do that?
Well, I'm allowing the band. I feel it all in here.
Adductors. Yeah.
So I allow the band to take me out. And I'm also trying to mimic that same position when I'm gripping the bar and I'm going down to that position. So I'm feeling this, and it just helps me dynamically increase this range of motion without doing a static adductor stretch. Yeah, we talk about the fibers and all that stuff. So I'm actively or dynamically, whatever you want to say, creating this pattern.
Well, it's not passive.
Exactly.
So the difference between passive stretching and this is active stretching. Well, that's what I consider to be mobility. It's strength in the end ranges, not just the ability to achieve the end range.
Exactly. And I'll do it the opposite way. So then I'll turn around.
And
I'll do the same thing. The band pulling me inwards.
And you have to resist against that.
And then I'm...
Where do you feel that when it's the opposite way?
It's like glutes.
Can you show me that as well? No harm in doing an extra set of warm-ups. Well, that's for me anyway. I spend about half hour. So check that out. So where do you feel this?
So then now obviously opposite, but I'm still trying to mimic that same movement. Right? So I'm still trying to drive my knees out along the bar. If I was to imagine there's a bar here, I'm still trying to drive my knees out. You can see.
See them shaking.
You know, this
I see your quads on as well.
Everything here is like starts to burn.
So is it a different? So that's front ways was adductors. And this way?
All through.
Posterior.
All through like glutes. A little bit through.
That looks nice. I mean, I'm not saying his ass looks nice. I mean that too. But I'm staring at him from behind, saying that looks nice. But I mean, that exercise. Look at that for a mobility, for a warm up. Is that specific for sumo, or would you do that for conventional as well?
I'll do it. I'll usually do it for, I even do it for my squats. I usually do it for anything lower body. I know everyone talks about engagement and activation and this and that and whatever. I just do things that make me feel good.
Hell yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know, I'll tell you something about this guy, right? So this is Critter. Now Critter, he's been off powerlifting for a while. When he was into powerlifting, he was one of the best in Australia. He was the first Australian to get a 10 times body weight total. This guy, believe it or not. So it's like I look at him and I look at people like Anatoly, and it's like he reminds me of Anatoly, but except Anatoly's a weaker version. What's your best deadlift?
In comp is 300.
At what body weight was that?
That would have been 75.
So 4 times body weight deadlift in comp, and what was your squat at that weight?
It was 307.
So your squat was more. That's because it's wraps. It's a funny one because a lot of people say my squat's better than my. Why is your squat better than your deadlift? For me in comp it was the same, but that's wrapped.
In saying that, I truly think my deadlift was stronger. I never got the opportunity to do it. I was not one to, you know, go and PB in the gym and try.
I'm sure I've seen you deadlift 310 before.
I've done 310 in the gym.
So on the platform,
and then I missed 322 here. Literally.
That was when you were pulling for the win.
That was pulling for the win. But that was a jump from 300 to 322.
So when was the last time you deadlifted?
With you.
Months ago? Oh man. All right. Anyway, so Critter's coming out. He's working in our business. He's one of our coaches on our team. He helps me with all of the content creation, education, coaching, all of that stuff. Because he's the man. And every now and then when he comes here, it's like, let's just train. train. Like, he's got a lot of stuff happening. So it's been a while since he's deadlifted. And I've just asked him to just show me the process of working up to something decent today. So I don't know where he'll get to. He just weighed in before at 65.5 kilograms.
Embarrassing.
See what I mean about Anatoly? I don't know what does Anatoly weigh? We're going to find these stats. And what's his best deadlifts? Because I know it's not as much as him. I know there's some AI generated videos of him doing a clean with 300 kilograms. Impossible, that's AI. But I think his best deadlift, I don't think he's hit the 300.
I think it's about 70 kilos.
He weighs 70?
I think.
Yeah, and he's lean, but so is Critter. You know what I want to do? I want to show this guy in his top form. Anyway, you should check out, because I love to give tutorials, especially on conventional deadlift, because I'm a conventional deadlifter and I've coached some pretty outstanding conventional deadlifters. But this guy is actually both. But anyway, because that's the void that I have here is my sumo expertise. I tell you now, I'm very good at sumo, but just not as good as this guy. So what we're going to do is check out his process with his warming up. So a bunch of all of that stuff, I think you guys can take that home immediately for everything, as he said, lower body. But let's have a look at the technique. Sumo deadlift 140. So efficient. You know what I was thinking? I did a 10-step deadlift tutorial on Instagram that I posted the other day, and I never realized this, but someone commented on there saying, notice how 9 of the 10 steps are all before lifting the weight off the floor. So all of the setup is more important than the actual lift.
100%.
And I'm just watching this guy just take however long that just took to do every little process, and then he just goes, and then the lift is over.
It's like baking a cake. All the ingredients are important before the heat. The heat is like that little
I've never baked a cake. I'll eat a cake though.
I'll cook it for you.
You can say baking the cake and then eating it. It's the same analogy.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll take me 2 seconds to eat your cake. But mate, I like that. I like that. What's the next set? We keep going up in plates.
I'll go plate. So I'll go 180 next.
All right.
And then, so before all this, I'll do that. I'll do RDLs. Just to actively, dynamically, stretch hamstrings, posterior chain, do some lower back stuff. But apart from that, do some body weighted squats, chuck a plate on. Yeah. And then just, and then high reps at the start, lower reps at the end.
So what I like to do whenever I train with the camera, I like to say this: I don't want to talk, because it's distracting when we want to go. I want to see him actually work today. So I'm going to start talking to Critter again after he reaches a top set, and then we'll get inside his head with some training processes, because, you know, doing the technique is one thing, and that's, I think, the majority of your success in the long term is lifting technique, is refining the technique. So we spend majority of our sessions, I'm going to do bench press, by the way, we spend majority of our sessions preparing ourselves for really, really nice top sets of the main movement of the day. And then it's kind of a breeze at the end of the session. It's just like, oh, easy stuff now. So same with the focus. It's like, if your priority is on lifting technique, this is, of course, with a strength goal. So many differences as a hypertrophy athlete or a bodybuilder to a strength athlete. With strength, skill of lifting is like the highest priority you can focus on for your long-term success. If all you did was, let's just say, ditch a program and you just had to do squats, bench, deadlift, choose your favorite lifts, and just did that exercise, you'll go forward. You come in, you master the movement, you refine the technique, and then you do a couple of great working sets. Like, that's the majority of your work. But I've been doing seminars for a long time, and it's like, yeah, what's the best return on investment that I can give you if I was to do a one-day seminar? It's technique, 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 technique. So I did all of my seminars based on technique. And then people are like, okay, cool, now I understand the technique. how much of it am I going to do? How many reps of it? How many sets of it? How often do I do it per week? And what are some accessory exercises that I can include with that? So it's like, okay, true. The programming does matter.
Yep.
But the highest priority is let's refine the hell out of the technique. So that's what we're going to do first. And then after you get, because I want you to stay in the right mindset for this, I'm going to pick your brain and we're going to talk about programming strategies for the deadlift. And I'm going to just give you a quick disclaimer. His strategy for his deadlifts is quite different to how most people would typically think. Firstly, when you're in comp prep, how often would you do heavy sumo deadlifts?
Honestly, towards when I was my strongest, it would be once a fortnight. Sometimes I would do it once a month.
Like heavy or just sumo?
Heavy, like it's just, if we're talking the last 8 weeks of prep, it would be more frequent further out. Because I wouldn't be so beat up and all that stuff. And then as I got closer, I would just probably pick 2 very heavy sessions in the last 4 weeks.
Wow,
And I would time them so that it wouldn't affect my squat.
So would you still sumo every week?
I would still sumo.
Right.
But it would be like a technical base session.
Infrequent with the heavy sessions.
Infrequent with heavy, but frequent with the movement.
I love that. That's, to be honest with you, I was going to say it's so different. It's not that different to my strategy with heavy lifting. With my elite lifters, it's kind of heavy session, light session, heavy session, light session. It's just good to see whenever I speak to other people that his training wasn't influenced by me. He's his own guy. This was years ago when we were competing against each other and he was beating me on formula. That's another story. But yeah, it's good to see that like at the top levels, like when you compare the strategies, it's like, oh yeah, that's how we do it as well.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And honestly, that's how long have we known each other for? 2013. But since I've been working with you and we've been learning together and doing everything, I look back at all that stuff when we were in our prime and we just, not naturally, we still learnt about it, but what we intuitively knew and did was 80-90% correct. Even to the sessions where I would come in, how long would it take you to do a squat session? 2 hours, 3 hours?
And most of it's just the first set.
It's the first set. And then by the time you get to accessories, you're like, oh, fuck. But when you look at how we program or your program strategies with your heavy lifters, it's like, what do we give them after squats? Leg extension, maybe hamstring curls, see you later.
Easy stuff.
So it all makes sense.
All right, let's do this. 180. You keep on going, and then we'll come back when we get to something heavy. We'll see if I'm going to go and do some research now while you're doing that. I'm going to see what Anatoly can do. Nice. To 10.
So typically what I would do is, let's say this is my top set. This is my last warm up. This is my second last warm up. The jump between my second last to my last warm up is bigger than my jump between my last warm up.
Well then you could go 30-20.
So 240, 260.
Unless you go 20-20-10, just take your time.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was thinking of.
Yeah, so we go 230, see what that looks like. And then if it looks okay, we go 250.
Yeah.
And if that looks like it's good, then we squeeze an extra 10 out of you.
Or 235.
Let's go 230, let's go 230. Let's put a green on each side, make it ugly as fuck.
Can we put the green here in the middle?
Yeah, fuck. Unreal. Blasphemy.
Yep.
Anyway. No, but if we get to a good number, that's when we'll clean it up. I'll load the plates for you then.
Yes, sweet.
I'll make it look lovely.
I remember once upon a time I don't remember what weight it was, but it was green, red, green, red, green, red for Christmas.
Yeah, I've done that. Were you here when you did that?
Nah, I did it.
I think I did the same thing.
Ago.
Okay, all right.
But it was, so what is that? Was it 260 or something?
Could have been. But,
oh, shit.
Yeah, sometimes when I look at weightlifters do it a lot, they just get just an assortment of different plates. This guy goes to me, one time, I don't know what I did, he goes, oh, you can squat the rainbow. I go, the what? He goes, you can squat the rainbow. I go, what's that? It's like every color. I go, how much is that? I don't know what it was. I think there's 2 different types of rainbows. There's 160, which is red, blue, yellow, green. There's 160. And then add the 5, that's 170. And then a 2.5, and then the silver clip, there's 180.
Yeah.
So it's like, you squat the rainbow. It's like, oh, the rainbow's fucking ugly. 180 is 4 blues, son. I think an extra 10 on each side, that'll come up.
Yep.
How you feeling, bro?
Yeah.
Working?
Just feels different.
That's what happens when you haven't touched it for a long time.
It feels different. It doesn't feel, can't say it feels bad.
Yeah. For me, I think when it comes to deadlifts, you need to feel the weight in your hands if you're going to go heavy. Like for me, I've done like volume work and all that stuff, but then when you go heavy, it's like, oh, that just feels different, as you're saying, you know? So to come back after the first time off, to go straight to heavy is a strange sensation.
It's very strange.
You know, I've worked with people where I've built their strengths, we've done volume phases, do all that stuff, and you build their strength, and it's like they've got a certain number in their head, and they go for it, and they go to lift, it's like, oh, they just let go. It's like, that was too heavy, and it's like, that was flying. You just let go. Like, and I have to record them and show them the video themselves. I should have shown you that video because that looked pretty good.
And that's, I asked Musty before to show me the one before.
Yeah.
Because it's like, just, I need to see what it looks like. Because,
Yeah.
And this is the beauty of recording your sets, right?
Because how you feel is a lie.
Very much so. And even worse when you're peaking.
Yeah. So it's like, you move, it's like, oh, that was really hard. And then you have a look at it, it's like, oh, wasn't that hard? You know, that's what I like to do. It's like, don't worry about what you feel like. I go, if I was to coach that guy, how much more does that guy have in him? The way that I saw that was like, yeah, if I put 10 on each side, it'll come up for sure.
Yeah.
So that was 230. I reckon if you have 250 on there, I think that's coming up.
And the biggest thing too is like, it's fucking patience.
Yeah.
You know, like how many times what you said, you see people, they start to initiate the lift, you're like, yeah, you fucking got it. And then they let go because they have that shock of like, fuck, this is heavy. It's like, well, no, and especially with sumo.
Yeah.
Sumo is probably one of the most patient lifts
I've heard
in the book.
I've heard that and use that, patience off the floor in particular. So that's, when I see good sumo lifters, it's like, it either comes off the ground, right? And if it comes off the ground, it just goes boom. It's like, whoa, there was so much more in there. And they're like, oh, that was limit. It's like, what? And then they go a little bit heavy and they can't get off the ground. Because that's where the biggest fight is.
Yep. And most people give up before that. So you see the bar starting to bend and you're like, they're moving this.
Yeah.
And then the weight starts to lift. You see each weight off the floor, and then they just, no, it's because if you just give that one more second.
You keep going.
One more second
Patience
of
off the
effort.
floor. But also, I'll tell you something that, I don't know, maybe you know, maybe you don't, because I think you're very technical. The way that I see it, because I work with a lot of non-technical people as well, and I'm one of those. You know, it's like, what would you normally do in a conventional? Is you just push harder, right? And then you can break technique a little bit in a conventional. Your back might bend and all those things, and the weight will come off the ground and you can brute force that thing. But you try and do the same thing with the sumo and it's not as forgiving. It's a lot more precision involved. And so it's like a lot of the best sumo deadlifters understand those things. And what I understand as a coach when I'm working with beginners and intermediates that are learning a sumo, that's where they mess up. They go back to the conventional mentality and they just go, just keep ripping. The knees come in, the back rounds, and then they get off the ground, but then they can't lock it out.
I was just looking at this before. This is a perfect example that you're doing the right things with sumo.
Yeah, your shins are grazed.
Like literally grazed, and then in the shower tonight I'll be screaming.
Yeah.
Like, it's a thing that I say to people that they ask me, like, should my shins be bleeding? I'm like, fucking oath they should.
Yeah.
But also wear socks.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I find that, like, and I've used it as videos. The world record deadlift in sumo, official, Stan Grigsby in powerlifting competition, and you just see blood just going out of his shins. Like, well, that's what happens. You know? Every world record attempt, it's on the shins.
How do you know the bar's close?
Yeah, that you can't get closer. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's what I mean by, like, when I was saying, I don't know if you'd know this, like, your technique is just, it doesn't compromise. And I'd say that's from years of just perfecting that movement. There's no compromise. So that's something that I noticed with Critter and his mechanics, and you probably see it on the next ones. Like, when you see his side view, his posture is no deviation. There's no deviation from completely rigid torso, but also something that he is able to achieve when he gets in this bottom position, how close your hips get to the bar.
From a technique perspective is, when people do go to a sumo, like you said, they treat it like conventional. So they do the same movement patterns with their hips and their knees and blah, 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 as conventional. And what you do with the conventional is you don't try and bring your hips this way. Right? So when they're doing a sumo, they're coming down, and they're coming down like a conventional.
Treating it like
and
it's
then
conventional.
You have this odd position where you're more angled over. You know, there's a little bit of a misunderstanding with that rotation this way. You know, so you can sit down into position where you
I was just looking him in the eyes when he went like this to me.
Let's
and
do
I was
it
like,
a few more times. Wow.
yeah, that felt funny. That felt funny.
But put your nuts to the bar.
That's the cue for you.
That's
Pull the
what we
nuts
did.
to the bar.
Yeah.
All right. You know what? I don't want to sidetrack you. I think that 250. I'm going to load this for you. Right. Right. Hey, if it were me and I saw what happened, I would be very tempted to add an extra 10 kilograms on there, and I betcha it would come up. Let's have a look, bro. Textbook. Okay. See all the work that goes involved in everything. That's the hard part.
Right,
and then
now.
it just goes dunk. Let's have a look. Bruh. Bruh. How do you feel, man?
I had to go somewhere special for that.
Can you do that again?
I can give it a go. I need some time, but I can give it a go.
Take all the time in the world, bro. That was beautiful. And I think 6 plates is there today, bro. I want to see you go to that place, man. I loved that.
I love that place too.
Yeah, but it's fucking
Can't go
exhausting.
there very often.
You can't go there very often. Why don't you do this? I'm going to load the plates. You sit down and chill, okay? And just give yourself a couple of minutes. If you want, you can have a look at this again, all right? And you make the decisions you need. I could see the fight was off the floor. I could see the fight was off the floor. And if I was to be a dick and say, how would I correct that? I would say your right leg came forward just a touch.
Yep, I completely.
You know, and if you kept your hips open harder and kept it glued to your body a little bit better, that would have been even easier.
And you know, funny you say that, because I've felt this since I started the session. I've got this little...
On the right side.
This little...
Yeah, so it kind of just went here.
Just niggle, like that's...
Damn. What's the feeling like after that?
It's nervy. Like,
Has
it's
it
not
changed?
No, it stayed the same. If anything, it's gotten better. I just did some other stuff in between sets and whatever, but it's I know what it is, and it's something that my whole powerlifting career, it's just been there. But that's, you know, we talk about this shit all the time, and it's so common and prevalent and whatever, but when this stuff happens, or I haven't trained for a bit or whatever, and it gets aggravated, it just sits there and I can just feel it. But that's what I think that is. Is an innovation thing.
Yeah. You just see the right leg just move forward.
I think it's just an innovation thing where that nerve is not.
Yeah.
And I could be overthinking it, but I think I've felt this for a long time and known.
Like once it was moving, it just folded into place. It just went dunk.
And I knew if I could just hold that position as much as I could, and just like we said, be patient with it. As soon as I feel those, you can see the plates just one at a time. As soon as I feel that, I know if I hold onto the bar, it'll go up. So.
How do you feel now?
Yeah. You know what it's like when you have high adrenaline and shit, and you. So,
I do.
But yeah, it's not, nothing crazy. I knew that's what it was. I knew it.
You tell me. You want to go 260
we'll
or you want to leave it there?
And
okay, cool. You chill, put your earphones on, and let me load it up. I'm going to do some sets in between.
Yes. I thought you were going to touch it too soon.
You know what, Krudab? Your knee's going to keep coming forward. If you go for this, your knee's going to come forward, and I think that it's not even worth it, bro. I hate it when I speak to an athlete and it's just like, yeah, do you want to go? It's like, yeah, here's a niggle, but yeah, I'll go. It's like, we've got two approaches. Go for it, risk fucking something happening, or we just go, let's just take our wins and just run. You know what, Critter? Let's just leave it. Let's just leave it. Let's just do back down work.
Okay.
Can you do that?
Yeah. Probably smarter.
It's like we're not training for anything. We'll come back next time and we'll hit that.
It'd be different, I feel like, if I had 12 months of training under my belt. You know what I mean?
You've had no months. You trained 12 months ago. No, not really. How many months ago was it you came here?
I don't know. It was.
I think too, you know what, let's leave it. I'm not going to put another plate on.
Yeah.
Let's do the opposite. I'm going to take a plate off and let's do, what I want to do instead is a little bit of technique work. When I say technique work, I want you to teach my audience your technique. As much as I'm good at cueing a deadlift, that deadlift is perfection. I want you to tell us what you're doing. Give us a go.
The main things that I think about, and I'll compare this to conventional too when I do it, because it is, there are similarities, but there also are some differences. When I walk up to the bar for a sumo, I always position my legs so that they're touching. And we know how different that is to conventional setup, right?
Yeah.
So my cue is to have the bar when my knees are extended, to have the bar, to have my shins touching the bar.
Yeah.
Because to myself then, I say, well, when I go down to grab it, I'm not going down like a conventional where I'm flexing my knees forward. And shins are going forward. Yeah. I'm trying to maintain that position where my shins are as vertical as possible.
So the barbell's like the gauge of don't come beyond this point.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's the same conventional, except you start in a slightly different position.
You give yourself room to push your shins forward. It is.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
But I start so that I am touching. And most people, you tell them, oh, make sure your shins are touching the bar, but they'll go into position and then they'll do this. But then when I stand up,
they're away.
Look where the bar is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I position so that I'm touching with my knees fully extended, like I'm in a lockout position without the bar in my hands.
Yeah, love it.
Then from there, I sort of just flex my knees and drive them along the bar, right? So I'm trying to see if they're even, okay? And if that's my position of where I like to have my shins in a deadlift, right? Because I can go here and go, yeah, I think they look good. I personally aim for something that's perpendicular.
So that's your knee, that's what I like to talk about, the knee directly over the foot, so your tibias are completely perpendicular to the ground.
And this is different for some people. Like if I could do this and deadlift, I would. Yeah. But I'd probably tear
it's just not stronger for you.
No.
So that's your strong point, is where I think that's a really nice start point as well, and that's what I try and teach people to start. It's like, well, what's a good start point? Let's try and get it so your knee's exactly vertical or perpendicular to your foot. Yep. So that's your position.
That's my personal one.
And then what?
You look at people like Ed Cohen.
Yeah.
Right.
He's close.
Very close. Well, closer. Right? Yeah. Very close to me.
Yeah.
And I've tried it. I've tried it. Like there are videos of me deadlifting in that position, but closer. Just not for me. Yeah. So, but he's got long arms, really good levers for it. Yeah. Probably gets more drive from his legs.
Now let's go foot angle. Do you think of that?
Yes. So only recently, like before I came for that last session, I was videoing my deadlifts, and I noticed that I was really turned in for what I usually do. And I was watching the video, and then I was getting into position. My knee was going out here. So if I was to draw a line from here, my knee was going out here, and then my foot was going at a slightly different angle.
Yeah.
I like to try and keep them as aligned as possible.
I like that.
So I try and keep my foot or my toes
same direction as your femur.
The same direction as my femur.
Yeah.
That's just
femur is the upper thigh bone.
That's just my personal preference. Then from there, obviously the grip, same as conventional, we try and have arms straight down. Yeah. Not by our side, obviously, because our legs
So can I just intervene here?
Yeah.
So when I look at all that, you say your shin's on the bar. When your feet are splayed out that much, it gives you a lot less base of support. So when your feet are straight ahead, you've got a longer base of support. But then when we turn them outwards, the base of support shrinks. So by default, having them on your shins is the center of your base of support. It's perfect alignment.
Yep.
Okay. And same rules apply.
Funny you say that, because the next thing I was going to say is the more you have it angled outwards, the less balance you have.
Yeah.
So you see people all the time, they do that.
I did that. When I first started, I was here, and I'd pick up, like when I was warming up, I'm like this, and I'm falling over.
Yeah, so it's like a really fine line.
So you've got to learn that stability, you've got to learn that balance.
Correct, yeah. And then, like I said, grip, I go straight down. Unfortunately, every bar's knurling doesn't go narrow enough.
Yeah, right.
So I'm half on the knurling, half
so
on the smooth.
The optimal grip width is shoulder width, where your arms are perpendicular to the ground. So that means for you, you'd be able to do that with half your hand on the smooth part. So that's completely vertical. So is that where you hold it?
That's right.
Right, so regardless of the knurling, because I've seen a lot of, like there's some women that I work with that are really good deadlifters, and they grab it on the knurling. And it's like, can you go closer? It's like, I don't have grip there.
Too bad.
Right. Yeah. Okay, so that's it. You just cop it, and it's just a little bit less grip here.
Which is a disadvantage.
Can you feel that it's less grip there?
Not in the moment.
You're just used to it.
Before, I'm like, fuck, I wish the knurling was a bit narrower.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I wonder, like, what if, but whatever.
Okay, interesting. So arms straight down. The same rule applies. So if you're doing a sumo deadlift out there, arms straight down. Conventional, it's arms straight down, but a lot of the times people's stance gets in the way of being able to achieve that position. But sumo, nothing's in the way, except for if you perceive that the need for knurling is what you'd prioritize over a more efficient grip position. Yeah. The most efficient grip position is where your arms are straight down. If you go outside of that, you have to travel further. The analogy that I give is a snatch grip deadlift is an accessory that we give to make you travel further. So that's what people are doing kind of voluntarily, is just going wider because they think it's a better grip. It might be, but you're losing out on that efficiency. Okay, cool. So we've got our shins on the bar, knees over foot, toes pointed in line with the femurs, arms completely perpendicular to the ground, and shins perpendicular to the ground. Good?
And then from this position, my goal is to keep the bar as stationary as possible. Yeah. The bar does not move.
Don't let your shins push that bar forward. Yeah.
That's the best cue for a sumo, is when you try and teach someone, drive your knees out along the bar. That's what it should be. It shouldn't be knees forward and try and drive up like a conventional. So then, from this position, it's essentially just my own, personal setup or whatever I like to do psychologically. And then it's very similar to a conventional. So I take the slack out of the bar, right? I take the tension out, I get my breath, and then as I'm getting my breath, or as I've got my brace, I come down, I drive my knees out, and as soon as I'm in that position,
where the shins are touching the bar,
then it goes.
Yeah. So you take the slack out of the bar, you take your breath and brace from the ground, you'll drive your hips up, that's where you take your breath and brace, and that's where you take the slack out of the bar. From there, you're wedging your hips in,
and that's what helps me actually rotate them forward. Right?
So if you see from side on, this is what I love when I see Critter's technique, is just his proportions and mobility. Like, he's strengthened that position. So a lot of people like me, I have the flexibility to achieve that position, but I lack the strength there. So when you see me side on, my hips are way further away from the bar. But you've strengthened that position so well. Show us again. So the moment arm is the distance from the bar path. So draw an imaginary line from the bar and the main acting joint, which is his hips. So bring your hips back. So just back further. That's a longer moment arm. Now get in position. Drives his hips closer and closer. is minimizing the moment arm. His torso is so vertical. This is huge. Damn, that's huge efficiency.
Like you said, this is, we're from Musti's position, is like most people, I can't even do it because it'll hurt my back. Yeah. It's like most people, oh, there we go. Most people would deadlift.
They anteriorly rotate their pelvis.
Right?
Yeah.
But for a sumo, we want to do...
Tuck your hips.
That.
Yeah.
And it's very uncomfortable. And we hear it all the time. Oh, someone does a 400 kilo deadlift. Oh, but it's sumo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, try and do that.
Yeah.
Try and do it with that load.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a different topic.
So the way that I see that is, this is something that I see, like I'm going to talk about some beginners that I see with their deadlift. They arch their tail because they don't want to get into the rounded position. So they excessively arch backwards. And something that I know with the anatomy of the adductors is they attach to the pelvis in a position where you arch your tail back, it creates tension on the adductors and they end up going like this. So the cue that I give is piss up a wall, and it allows them to achieve that position of nice, beautiful open hips. And when you look at your spine, it feels like when you do that, you're rounding your spine. But when you look at yours from side on, it's perfect.
And that's the thing you have to get used to, is that feeling of most people, and it's the same with squats, it's the same with like any new technique they do.
Yeah.
You tell them to breathe and brace, crunch their ribs down, like cues, and like, I feel like I'm rounding my back, and you go, well, go and watch it from the side. See what it looks like. It definitely does not look like you're rounding, you're arching your back. So
what I like to teach is rigid spine rather than, and I might say the word neutral, but neutral is a range, right? And when you think neutral spine, your lumbar spine has a natural, it's called a lordotic or lordosis curve, right? So it's arched this way. And that's considered neutral, but neutral is a range. This is also neutral as well. But what's happening here so nicely with Critter is it's locked in place. So wherever he starts, now he's got his muscles holding his spine in place, and he's now using that lever like a crane, and it just wedges those hips in and he stands up, rather than passively resting on his spine and picking it up like his spine's a fishing rod. I mean, some people do that as well, but at high levels, you just don't see that. You see control, and the lifter knows how to engage the spine. Now, something you haven't mentioned now, but I know that you do it beautifully, is how you engage your lats, which I say is the biggest contributor to locking that whole structure in. How do you do that?
You do it so well, right? You know that your arm levers aren't the best for conventional deadlifts, but you do it so well because you compensate through this movement, and I love that. Like, I try and do it, even though my levers are good, I still try and do that. Because I like that slight thoracic flexion to increase my range of motion. Now, I'm not doing this, but I like that slight thoracic flexion and then lats on. Because that increases your range, decreases your range of motion. Right?
A cue that I give for lats is pull your armpits to your pelvis. What do you think?
I pretty much use the same thing.
Armpits to pelvis?
It's pretty much just, I reach, I'll get into position because it's easier to do it. So I'm in this position. I'll bring my hips up. And you'll see that I'm rounding through my thoracic. And then as I come down, bring my shins forward, knees out.
Armpits to pelvis, crown of the head to the ceiling.
Go.
So you're lengthening your spine.
But I'm not arching my back. I'm maintaining that flexion, engaging my lats, crown up, and then just literally trying to keep the bar as close as possible and drive straight up.
Nice. Let's go step by step. Walk up to the bar in your comfortable sumo stance until your shins are touching, pointing your toes outwards to your comfortable position. So a very nice start point that I like to say is where the tibia is perpendicular to the ground. From here, bracing by pissing up a wall. So it's kind of just a relaxed pelvis position, would you say? From here, he's just bending over to grab the bar with his arms just straight down, shoulder width apart, perpendicular. He uses a mixed grip. Some people use hook. I notice he does on his warm-ups. From here, he raises his hips in the air. That's where he inhales and braces maximally. That's where he's also taking the slack out of the bar. So look at his arms. They're long and stretched like a rope from his shoulders to the bar. Stretch. Now from here, he wedges his hips close to the bar while he's pulling his armpits towards his pelvis to engage his lats and his crown of his head towards the ceiling. He almost got me in the balls. almost got me in the balls.
So you weren't ready for that?
No, I was ready. I was like, he's going to go now. I was going, is he actually going to lift or is he going to pretend?
Sure.
It's like, they'll get out of the way anyway. So back to that, there was so much time and effort and energy and focus spent on the start position that we haven't really even discussed what you think about, like with blocking it out and everything like that. So let's go there. The people say, they call a deadlift a pull. So we're doing pull. It's like, well, what's the focus when you're in position, crown of the head to the ceiling, armpits towards the pelvis, you've taken the slack out of the bar?
For me, it's a spread.
Ah, I love that.
Because you're naturally going to pull.
Yeah.
You're naturally going to push through the floor.
Yeah.
You don't naturally think about spreading.
Yeah.
And that's just more specifically for a sumo, for me.
So I love that, because I say you can't deadlift without pulling. It's going to pull. So therefore I don't cue pull. The body knows that. But with conventional, I say push the world away, or leg press the floor away. So
and that's what I think of for conventional.
You're taking another step further, saying the body knows to pull, the body knows to push, but it's not second nature to spread. So that's where your focus is. So from standing here, what do you mean by spread? So you're pushing outwards.
Yeah, so like we've said, those knees are driving outwards, but I'm also trying to actively spread my feet towards the plates.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm trying to get them.
Can your feet slip?
Well, what I was doing before is when I was doing my warm-ups, I was like, fuck, it's a bit slippery back here. So I was trying to put my foot on the black part.
I see.
But obviously deadlift slippers and the right footwear and stuff like that, different story.
Yeah.
So I don't think you get enough unless it's socks on a wooden platform, right? Which we don't recommend.
Yeah.
Unless it's a super slippery surface, I don't think you'll get much of that.
Much of a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so we go spread, and then what? So then the bar starts lifting.
Yeah.
So you're going push outwards, you're spread outwards.
Yeah. And arms.
And pull and keep the bar glued to your body. So that's lats, right? So that's called shoulder extension. That's an action of the lats. And this is what I say, when the bar drifts forward, it's a telltale that you don't know how to use your lats. Like you're not using lats. How do I know you're using lats? Touch your body. And this is where I even teach people. Some people disagree with this, but I say as a beginner cue, I want to hear the bar sliding up your shins, which can hurt.
Oh yeah.
So I'll give them knee sleeves on the shins, and I'll say, I want to hear it going up the shins.
It's even worse with sumo because your shin is on the knurling.
Yeah, so it's ripping the skin off. Ripping the skin off, yeah. So armpits to pelvis, crown of the head to ceiling, spread, and then what? Anything else?
Stand.
That just comes naturally. We just know how to stand. That's just real easy. Something that I see incorrect is like leaning back and all that. So flex the quads hard.
I literally try and actively tense my quads.
Yeah, flex the quads as hard as you can to get that lock. But you don't what?
Try and lean back.
Don't try and lean back. No. So we're just getting vertical. So do you think you're driving the hips through? It just naturally comes?
I think for me now it just naturally comes. Because that's a part of my process of trying to stand up as tall as possible. Continuing to reach the crown straight up.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not trying to go forward, back, it's just vertical, completely just vertical.
Yeah.
And it just naturally happens.
It just happens.
One more thing we haven't touched on is sequence. So I say, knees locked out, hips pushed through, in that order. Do you think about that? Or
No,
just naturally
I know
happens
it
again?
happens. Yeah.
It just naturally happens again.
Yeah.
Because some people try and be simultaneous with the knees and hips, but the bar's in the way. And what happens is that's when you get kind of like a funny hitch movement, especially with conventional. I shouldn't talk about sumo, but especially with conventional, they go when it gets heavy. So you've got to go lock the knees, then drive the hips through. That's the sequence. Boom, boom.
It looks more exaggerated with the sumo. I personally think that you'll see more people very snappy with the sumo, like they go
I do
bang,
see that
bang,
a lot.
right?
I see snap, snap.
Yeah, and you don't see it with a conventional as much, but you still have to be very skilled to be able to do that and then not lose your balance with a sumo.
Now, while you're here, I'm going to throw a spanner in the works. Now, Critter does a lot of conventional as well. So this is something that a lot of people ask me is, does conventional deadlifters need to do sumo? And I say, they don't need to, but it's not a bad idea. But something that I say is all the sumo deadlifters that I coach, I make sure they do conventional. Now, you do conventional.
Absolutely.
But something that I've noticed is whenever I teach a great conventional deadlifter how to do sumo, they come back to their conventional deadlift more technical, right? Because I find that the sumo deadlift is far more technical. So they kind of carry over. So now let's have a look at your process with a conventional deadlift. Hang on a second, what's your best conventional deadlift? Did you ever max out with conventional?
I would say I got close, but I wasn't at like the end of my career.
Because whenever you're competing at sumo, so you're only practicing your peak on your sumo lift.
Well, fun fact, like I started conventional. I did conventional for, I don't even know, maybe the first 3 years or whatever it was, and or 2 years before I started.
I remember seeing a video of you doing 220 for 10.
Yeah.
And the reason why that resonates with me, because that was always a big goal of mine, and I would say 220 for 10 equals 300 for 1. It did for me. 220 for 5 is 260 for 1. And then 220 for 10 was 300 for 1. You know, this is just boy maths. So you at home, figure it out. You tell me what you can do. If anyone can do 220 for 5, you probably can do 260 for 1. Tell me if I'm right or wrong. 220 for 10 is what I've seen you do. And I go, fuck, that guy's conventional deadlift would be at 300.
290. Well,
there
I did a 290 and my goal was, and I reckon I could have done 300, but.
Show me your setup for a conventional so that we can see the similarities between the cueing and the body position in between the two. So, starting with stance, hip width. Let's have a look at, he's just walked up to the bar and his shins aren't touching anymore, but if you look side on, the barbell's perfectly in line with his midfoot. So that means the shins are probably, for you, that's about 1.5 inches away from the bar. Cool. Bends over and grabs the bar with his arms straight down. Arms are long and relaxed, reaching down. From here, he takes a big breath to brace, drives his hips up in the air to take the slack out of the bar. Now he wedges his hips into position and pushes the world away. As he's wedging his hips in position, we'll probably see on that angle there, his lats just go boom. So that's armpits to pelvis, same cue. Crown of the head to the ceiling, same cue.
Same cue.
And then I say push the world away. You're not spreading now.
No, I think about the same thing.
You just push it straight down. Treat the world like it's a leg press. Which battery died? That one. Treat the world like it's a leg press. Knees locked out, hips pushed through. Yeah, I like that. Krita, that was a very beautiful deadlifting tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed that. We're going to have Krita back. We're going to put him on a, I'm going to try and twist his arm and say, come back and give me a 260 or a 270 or a 280 or something like that next time.
Wasn't it 272?
272 is how we speak to the Americans. That equals 600 pounds.
That would be nice.
Solid ass pounds.
That would be nice.
That would be nice. Let's see if we can do it. I hope you guys enjoyed all of that. Krita's on the team. He's one of the head coaches here at Strength System. And we've been working together for many, many years. So I hope you enjoyed that. We'll put all of his handles, Instagram and all that, but you're going to see more of him. And I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys have any questions or comments or any shit like that, if you want to see Krita come back, just put it in the comments and we'll have him back.
Don't go to twist my arm.
I don't have to twist his arm. He's just coming, mate.
If you want to train with Krita or Sebastian,
hit us up. You know where to find us.
We're here.